But Richard, here's how I see it. She got caught. She got caught. She had an epiphany once she got caught. And I am looking at her qualifications, and I am looking at her record. And I don't know that she didn't help write this letter. I know she signed it. And I know she tried to hide it from this committee. Professor, I'm looking at a letter dated March 16, 2020. It's a letter to Governor Lamont in Connecticut. The title of it is Urgent Action Needed to Protect Individuals in Connecticut's Prisons and Jails from Coronavirus 19 Pandemic. Did you sign that letter?
So I don't recall sitting here today, Senator.
Here's your signature. Here's back here. Why didn't you turn this over to us when you were asked to submit documents?
So, Senator, I made every effort to search for everything that I had ever signed. That's not a letter I remember, but I will certainly take a look at that. And
we found it was with a search on the internet.
So I apologize, Senator.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we've got a wild one for you. We're diving into a heated Senate hearing where a judicial nominee was caught red-handed, and Senator John Kennedy, he didn't hold back. This is one of the most intense back and forths you'll see. And trust me, you don't want to miss a second of it. If you love watching politicians get to the truth, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a video.
In your letter to the governor, here's what you say. As they stand, prisons and jails are detrimental to public health and human rights and disproportionately harm marginalized communities, including Black, Brown, Indigenous, and other communities of color, immigrants, people with mental illness, people with disabilities, people in the LGBTQ plus community, people who use drugs, people engaged in sex work and street economies, and people experiencing houselessness and poverty. So if you believe that about our prisons, how are you going to ever sentence somebody to prison?
So, Senator, I will need to take a look at that letter, and I apologize that that's not something I found to hand to this committee.
You're not denying you said that.
I do need to see the letter to see the context, because again, it's not something I remember adding my name to. Yeah. I can assure you, right. Senator.
And,
all right, so here's the deal. During the confirmation hearing, Senator Kennedy confronted the nominee about a letter she signed back in 2020. This wasn't just any letter. It called for releasing inmates during the COVID-19 pandemic and criticized the entire prison system. And guess what? She didn't disclose it to the committee. Kennedy found it himself with a simple Google search. I mean, seriously, how do you forget something that major? Drop a comment below and let me know what you think. Was it an honest mistake or a deliberate cover-up?
You also say, first, you call on Governor Lamont to release everybody in jail. Is that right? Because of the coronavirus?
So again, Senator, I would need to see that letter in front of me. It certainly was not.
You can find it just put your name into Google. You'll find it in about 3 nanoseconds.
I will, Senator. I can assure you that
You said in your letter, Professor, we call on Governor Lamont, state of Connecticut, and all Connecticut jurisdictions to immediate release to the maximum extent possible people incarcerated pre-trial and post-conviction. And then you go on to say, talking once again about our jails, the global COVID-19 pandemic is throwing into sharp relief the untenable state of our penal system and the need for sustained action to shrink its scale, shrink its size, and shrink its scope.
Once that letter came to light, things heated up fast. Kennedy didn't waste any time grilling her on whether she still believed that prisoners should be released en masse. And when he pressed her about how she could fairly sentence criminals with those views, let's just say her answers didn't exactly inspire confidence. At one point, Kennedy even said, "If I were a prosecutor, I'd do everything I could to avoid having you as a judge." Ouch. And honestly, with stakes this high, who could blame him? If you think these questions were tough, just wait, it gets even more intense. And hey, if you're enjoying this breakdown, take a second to smash that like button. It helps more people find this video. and keeps us bringing you the latest from Capitol Hill.
DoorDash delivery guy, you wrote the governor of your state 3 years ago.
So again, Senator,
in law school.
So again, Senator, I would need to look at the letter. It sounds like it was written at the height of the pandemic, where governors were looking for.
You also wrote the governor, you said people over the age of 55 are at the greatest risk for COVID-19, but also pose the least public safety risk to our communities. People in this age group can and should be released immediately to mitigate the spread of COVID-19. You think the governor just, if you're over the age of 55, he should let everybody go?
No, Senator, that's not a position.
That's what you said.
Okay.
Here it is, biggest Dallas.
Again, Senator, I will look at that letter. I can assure you that.
Find it on Google, Professor.
Now here's where things got even crazier. The letter didn't just focus on prisons, it also called for halting immigration detentions. Kennedy was all over it, asking how she could handle cases involving undocumented immigrants if she believed the system itself was unsafe and inhumane. Her response? She danced around it. She claimed she didn't recall the specifics but promised to be fair if confirmed. But can someone with such strong past views really be neutral on the bench? Let me know what you think in the comments below.
You also say Governor Lamont should issue an executive order to direct the state's attorney offices and law enforcement entities, including the town and city police departments, and any federal law enforcement entity operating within the state to immediately cease adding to the incarcerated prison population given the high risk of infection posed by the population increase. You asked the governors to tell every law enforcement official in the state to stop arresting people and putting them in jail, didn't you?
So again, Senator, I have to look at that letter. I do think there were modifications that the governors were making around the country to respond to the pandemic.
You also had an opinion in your letter about, can I have another 30 seconds, Mr. You had an opinion in your letter about immigration. You said immigration detention poses the same health risk to jails and prisons, and Connecticut law enforcement must stop feeding people into the unsafe and inhumane immigration detention system. Then you say Governor Lamont should release all individuals currently in state custody.
And here's the kicker, she never voluntarily shared the letter with the committee. Kennedy flat out said, "We had to find it on our own," and accused her of hiding it. This raises a huge question. If she's willing to withhold something like this during the vetting process, what else is she not telling us? This is why these hearings matter. It's not just about qualifications, it's about integrity. And when you're making decisions that impact people's lives, trust is everything.
Who are waiting to transfer to ICE custody, and the governor should declare a moratorium on all such future transfers. How, if somebody is in our country illegally and commits a crime, are you going to put them in jail if you believe this about immigration?
Senator, I can assure you, were I so fortunate to be confirmed, I would treat crimes seriously.
That's not what this letter says, Professor, and it was 3 years ago. It wasn't when you were in law school, and you didn't turn it over to us. We had to find it on our own.
Senator Kennedy.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Russell sent a letter to the governor of Connecticut during the pandemic. Here's what she said, quote, "As they stand, prisons and jails are detrimental to public health and human rights and disproportionately harm marginalized communities."
So where does this leave us? Well, Senator Kennedy made it clear he's voting no on this nominee. And after watching that hearing, it's easy to see why. When someone wants a lifetime appointment to the federal bench, transparency isn't optional, it's essential. What do you think? Should this nominee be confirmed, or did this letter expose too many red flags? Let's get the conversation going in the comments. And before you go, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss our next breakdown of the biggest moments from Washington, D.C. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.